This is your daily dose of all things royal. Why is Meghan Markle always at the center of controversy? It's like daily now, there's always something that Meghan is doing to piss people off. The constant drama seriously feels far from anything but normal. And it urges us to question these clickbait headlines like the Daily Beast this morning, outrage as Meghan Markle reclaims her Royal Highness title. Online, people are losing it over Meghan's alleged use of the HRH title, which she and Prince Harry reportedly agreed to set aside under the Sandringham Agreement. These kinds of stories definitely grab attention, but we should really be asking, what are they diverting our focus from? Let's take a look at this propaganda piece that most likely came from Meghan herself, and I'll go ahead and share why I think this after we go through a couple elements of this article. So this article is all about a post that Meghan put up on her Instagram. The article begins by saying, Meghan Markle has provoked outrage among friends of the royal family after publishing a message addressing herself as Your Royal Highness. Markle and Harry never formally surrendered their her Royal Highness titles, but agreed to stop using them after they quit the royal family and left the United Kingdom. Until now, this tenuous deal had held despite growing calls in the UK for the couple to be stripped of their titles. However, Markle has now called that agreement into question by publishing a letter from Ukraine's vice president on Instagram using the greeting, "This weekend." Buckingham Palace declined to comment, but a friend of King Charles III told the Daily Beast that he would be dismayed at Markle posting a screen grab to Instagram of a message from a senior Ukrainian's vice prime minister that began, Your Royal Highness, I would like to express my sincere thanks for everything your family is doing for Ukraine. It's outrageous. Every time you think they can't make it any worse, they make it worse, the friend of the king said. The deal with the HRH was a way to stop them cashing in while letting them walk away with pride and dignity and trust. And now Markle is using her HRH on a website which seems to exist to sell jam. They say they want reconciliation, the source added. I'm sure the king's first reaction will be dismay, but he simply doesn't allow himself to get angry about things like this anymore. A friend of Prince William said, it's actually quite a clever way of testing the water because there is deniability there. She can say, well, I just wanted to publish this nice letter to raise awareness for Ukraine, and oops, they got my name wrong. But, actually, now I think of it, I never gave up the title anyway, and maybe I'll start using it again. It's a step in the wrong direction, basically, away from the agreement. You'd have to be an idiot to believe that she didn't know exactly what she was doing when she posted that message, unedited, to her stories. An expert in heraldry who knows the family told the Daily Beast there were plenty of people at the time who said it was a mistake to make not using the title a mere gentleman's agreement, rather than just removing it. This post may not matter in and of itself, but it raises a bigger question. What are they going to do if she simply starts using her HRH again? She probably can't be stopped as things stand right now. The bottom line is she is officially an HRH. It was never removed. Markle's office did not respond to a query asking if the post meant either that she would henceforth not correct people using her HRH title or that she intended to actively start using it herself again. Okay, and we're going to stop here because this is all we need to look at from this article. Now, this article's alarming tone stems from its reliance on vague sources tied to King Charles and Prince William, supposedly speaking to the Daily Beast to sway American opinion. No credible source would publicly reveal the king's true feelings about the HRH titles, though that doesn't mean the palace disagrees with this distraction. Stay with me, folks. I'm going to show you how this could point to deeper implications for the crown. Consider this. Meghan Markle may be pushing the narrative to reinforce her and Harry's global significance, leveraging their HRH titles to project the image of active working royals or even heads of state representing the crown. They've been doing this on several instances like Colombia, Nigeria, Jamaica, Canada. Optics are everything for this couple, and we know that. The king has not once stepped in to stop any of it. Keep that in mind. So when we're seeing this article highlighting a critical issue I've long noted, the so-called gentleman's agreement allowing them to retain HRH titles was never formally addressed in UK Parliament or official records, leaving no clear directive that they shouldn't be treated as state representatives abroad. Am I wrong here? No, I'm not. This is, what we've been witnessing over the past 6 years now. The article raises a valid question. If Harry and Meghan openly use their HRH titles again, will King Charles act? Likely not. The palace's silence on this serious matter suggests a pattern, using the king's health and stress as a convenient excuse to avoid accountability for what this couple has been allowed to get away with here in the United States, seemingly on behalf of the crown. Now, I know that there's many of you out there that don't believe that the king has any involvement or knows what's going on with this couple because, they just don't have any type of insight and are not worried about what this couple is doing over here, especially from a political perspective. And there are some of you who fall into the camp, like myself, who believe that there's absolutely no way that the king would not know some of the shenanigans that these two have been up to, especially when they first came over here, what they were set out to do. Now, when you look at what has been unfolding outside of this little royal bubble in the United States on the election 2020, as well as the censorship, you then see all roads are leading back to the United Kingdom. So for those that say that the king had absolutely no idea, especially when Harry and Meghan have been over here, not only distracting all of us, but on the down low, fulfilling this agenda, WEF, World Economic Forum, one world government bullshit, you need to bring back common sense. And until the king or the royal family address it, the never complain, never explain mantra is no longer working, at least in my eyes. Yulia writes, Your Royal Highness, I would like to express my sincere gratitude for everything that your family is doing for Ukraine and for helping us draw the world's attention to humanitarian demining in Ukraine. Demining will allow millions of displaced Ukrainians to return home and allow thousands of children to go to school without fear. This means so very much to all of us. A remarkable group of women who live in the border region of Sumy, an area affected by landmines, have prepared this Easter bread for you and your family. Today, they, along with all of us, are deeply moved knowing that this symbolic offering, Easter bread, made from flour harvested from demined fields, will be on your table. Thank you from all Ukrainians for your kindness and good-heartedness. Now, I want people to understand that this is what a red herring looks like. I'll explain in a second. Check out the clip of Harry in Ukraine.
Welcome to Ukraine. It's my first visit to Ukraine, and it certainly won't be the last. And it was an absolute honor and a privilege to be able to travel here with an Invictus delegation and to come here to the Superhuman Center and see what an absolutely mind-blowing care and rehabilitation that is provided here under this purpose-built roof. It's astonishing. And to see the surgeons right inside the eardrum, trying to help, as many people as possible. And I've seen a lot of different centers, but they're having a purpose-built center where everything is under one roof and where individuals are going through surgery, and then in the same building they're being fitted with prosthetics, and then they are sent home, even though most of them don't want to go home, they want to stay here, and I understand why. I've been to many rehabilitation centers, but there is no rehabilitation center in the world that feels like this. I want to remind Ukraine that the world stands with them, and Invictus will be a partner with Ukraine and with this Ukrainian Invictus team for as long as needed. And we love the partnership.
So we're being made to believe that Harry flew to Ukraine right after his court case to show up on the 10th to spend time at this superhuman center in Ukraine as a delegation on behalf of the Invictus Games Foundation. So he was there to visit the wounded soldiers that were there. And when you look at who the news outlets were that pushed this out, we had the BBC, we had New York Times, CNN, CBS, all leftist propaganda outlets. Now, it's my opinion, but it does feel very much like this was another PR campaign, and they had these articles written and ready to go because they all dropped pretty much at the same time. Now, I am of the opinion that Harry went to Ukraine before he showed up in court. And that's because the video, as well as the articles and all the posts coming out at the same time in such a small window, leads me to believe that this was a coordinated, strategic campaign. Look, we all know that Harry has some really good security, so it's highly doubtful that Harry was still in Ukraine when those articles were published. So this little PR stunt that Harry pulled is going to serve a couple purposes. I think the first purpose that we all see is kind of obvious is to put out the optics that he is this global statesman and he is making this kind of positive impact to the charities and causes that he supports, hence the reason why they were focused on Invictus Games Foundation, showing that he is this delegation and he's doing all this good work. I think that first and foremost was the immediate optics that they wanted people to see, especially after this court case. What is interesting is how they didn't, or maybe they did, think it through as to how this would look soon after his court case pertaining to security. It's like, why are you going to a war-torn country when your security is in question? So some of you might remember in a video that I posted last year mentioning shortly after Keir Starmer's election win in July of 2024, expressing skepticism about him, suggesting he might not be an improvement over Rishi Sunak due to his strong ties to the World Economic Forum and globalist agenda. And I can't recall if I did mention it in the video, but I know I had this conversation with the Duchess of Sussex. My suspicion that Starmer, given his apparent disdain for the monarchy, might support Prince Harry's efforts to regain his security. Now, what I'm seeing are recent whispers suggesting Starmer is indeed working behind the scenes to assist Harry. Now, if that is true, this sheds new light on Harry's trip to Ukraine, making it far more understandable and deeply troubling. So now when we go back to Meghan Markle's Instagram posts, here is where the deception is with the propaganda that they were pushing out. So the Daily Beast article makes it sound like it's Meghan Markle that is the one who is provoking this. So when you look at Yulia's statement here, she writes, "Your Royal Highness." That's not addressing Meghan. That essentially is addressing Prince Harry because it was Prince Harry who was with her in Ukraine, seen here. If you didn't know any better, you would immediately think that they were addressing Meghan, which is how the media is spinning it. That Meghan is using her HRH title, but it's not even being addressed to her, but she's claiming it as if it is being addressed to her by just putting it on her stories. So do you see how they manipulate and weaponize their media that they put out there to get us looking in one direction, not paying attention to who this woman is? All they say is that she's a vice prime minister, making her look important, but not too important, thinking that nobody is going to look up what this woman does. She is the Minister of Economic Development and Trade. Meaning, she is the one who is negotiating the minerals deal with Donald Trump. I am willing to bet that Harry met with this woman sometime in March when all of these discussions were going on about this minerals deal, as well as the activity that was going on in the UK, because the UK equally wants a minerals deal. So what was Harry doing with this woman? Was he there on behalf of the king? What's so deeply troubling about this is knowing Harry's connections and involvement with the Demon Rat Party and the cabal that has been trying to take down the Trump administration. We know that Harry and Meghan are no fans of this current administration. So what is he doing over in Ukraine, meeting with a woman who is deeply involved with negotiating this minerals deal, especially knowing that the United Kingdom also wants a minerals deal? Was Harry over there to sabotage this deal? Was Harry over there giving intelligence to this woman about this deal? Was Harry over there trying to help the United Kingdom take this deal by getting intelligence from her? This is why you can't trust this guy. And it's for this exact reason why the king must put his foot down if indeed he has no connections to the shenanigans that his wayward son has been conducting. You see, this doesn't look too good that this vice prime minister, who is responsible for the trade deal with Trump, is addressing Harry as Your Royal Highness, because that just signifies that he is a working royal and is there on behalf of the crown. You follow me? You see, Meghan posting this on her Instagram to make it look like she is the one being addressed for it, and then talking about a remarkable group of women. Of course, we're going to think, oh, Meghan and her women bullshit and being kind and compassionate, wants us to believe that it's this woman addressing her. And in reality, it's addressing Harry, but also to cover why he was really there. Harry was there to be a delegation for the Invictus Games Foundation. Why are they talking about demining? Right? Was Harry there also on behalf of Archwell? Because it sure feels like we're going to see some type of small donation where probably in Ukraine right now, Harry walked away with a big bag of cash. There's so much corruption going on with these two and deceit that you can't trust at face value what we're being shown. Just based off of all the inconsistencies and the lies that we have been told, these two are up to no good. And the fact that they're going around the world as like these global heads of state and acting like it leads me to believe that somebody behind the scenes is okaying all of it. That's why they have no fear or care in the world that they're pissing people off left and right. Look, given the fact that Harry meddled with the 2020 election, knew about January 6, colluded with the Biden regime and the censorship complex to silence and suppress Americans' free speech, now we're seeing him being referred to as Your Royal Highness. There's only one thing that I can draw my conclusion to is that, yes, he is still working on behalf of the crown, carrying out and doing the bidding of the things that globalist King Charles needs to see done in order to make this Agenda 2030 work. When you look at all the effort that Harry and Meghan give on the down low, it's all towards satisfying the SDG goals of the UN. Everything that his pa wants to see. Okay, so let me tell you what I struggle with here, is that we are made to see the royal family as these perfect creatures who are incapable of having an opinion, having any type of influence, any kind of power. But here we are. The amount of influence that the royal family has had in this country in itself makes me a bit uncomfortable, which when we look at everything that went on with Donald Trump, as far as all of the Western countries against making sure that Donald Trump didn't get back in for a second time in 2020, leads me to believe that this was a collective effort by all nations in order to ensure that their plan was not going to be disrupted. And for the staunch royalists, it's impossible to overlook King Charles's pivotal role in championing the Sustainable Development Goals and the Great Reset, which gained momentum globally post-COVID. Since the 90s, he and his family have consistently supported the World Economic Forum's push for globalism, often framed as democracy but criticized by people like myself as destructive socialism. His position as king does not erase his long-held beliefs and opinions. Behind closed doors, he's likely still voicing them. Assuming otherwise, just because we don't hear it directly, is naive and short-sighted, in my opinion. Out of sight doesn't mean out of action. And again, folks, these are just my opinions. You may not agree with it, and you don't have to. But I do think the one thing that we all can agree upon is the level of frustration that we have on so many things that the royal family could easily step in and shut down, but they won't. And the question becomes why? A lot of this stuff is pretty serious, especially now with Harry going to Ukraine. The fact that he is being addressed as Your Royal Highness in itself directly ties back to the crown. So if Charles doesn't want to say anything, then is that his way of letting the world know that his son is out there doing his bidding that he can't do? And that's not a good look. That's just my opinion. But what do you guys think? Do you think that Meghan is the one behind this? I don't. I do think that Meghan is the fall girl for us to look at her and condemn her and, because that's probably what her job is, to distract away from all the things that globalist Harry has been doing on behalf of his pa. That's just my opinion, but definitely leave your thoughts below. As always, I will be back with more content, but until then, please be safe and I'll talk to you later. Bye.
Such a fraud.